let's get into where you're at now, right?
Sure.
Did winning those 5 events lead you to saying, I want to open up this gym?
So
Or was it already open at that
Good
point?
question. I was already open at that point. So when I stopped fighting, I got into I was doing social working. I used to work with senior citizens. That was my job. That was like my first psychology based job. That was my major. Sometime during that time, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I started training people. My mom's a teacher in the sense that she's a cake decorator, but a teacher in that world. I was just in my genetics to teach, and I fell in love with coaching. I worked at 24 Hour Fitness like every other fucking trainer, and then I opened up the gym in 2012. And at that time, I didn't call myself a strongman gym until I competed. I thought it was like blasphemy.
Yeah.
So in 2013, I had my first competition. I also had my first strongman competition. So then I'm like, okay.
So it was a powerlifting gym at that time?
It was a strength gym. That's all I call
it,
strength. And then I competed in powerlifting and strongman in the same year in 2013. Then I said, Miami, Battle Axe Gym, the strongman gym in Miami, because it was, and it is. It's the only fucking strongman gym, like purely.
Yeah.
And that was kind of a claim to fame for a little bit, and still is in a sense. But then, I won the first 5. I was hooked. Well, then, of course, came the reality. Once you're the bigger fish in that pond, and you got to the bigger pond, and you're the small fish, 7th and 5th and 3rd and 15th at Nationals, 20th at Nationals, and it was just a battle. It becomes a battle. And it's like what you got to do for the day. At the time, I dropped powerlifting. I dropped strong rugby, and I started focusing heavily on trying to be as strong as I can. I won Florida's Strongest Man in 2014. That same year, I had a powerlifting. It was silly. I did the Nationals, powerlifting meet, and I won Florida's Strongest. Things that look back at time, which is cool, but rough on the body. And then I stuck with that. And now where I am now, which I'm 38 now, and things are a little bit different on the body. I tried to compete last year in Florida's Strongest Man, but December 1st, I tore my tricep tendon. So I had a tricep tendon rupture right off the bone.
During competition?
Training for competition. It was sucked because that was like the 3rd tendon I tore. And it set me back big time. And then I've always been into Highland games, the guy with the kilts.
I've actually been watching a lot of that stuff.
Fucking love that stuff.
It looks pretty cool.
I've always done that in and out. And that was, since I had one arm in a sling and my right arm was fine, I started throwing.
That's got to be the easiest thing you've done on your body, right?
Easiest on my body.
Yeah.
Not the easiest.
Not the easiest to do it. That's not what I mean. Just the easiest on your body. Yeah.
Yes. I competed 3 times in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Because that's normal.
I saw the videos. They look pretty cool.
It's normal. Yeah, you could do that.
I've never seen something like that, to be honest.
It's so fun.
So it was a new introduction to something that I've never seen before. Yeah.
Explore it,
I thought
man.
it was pretty cool.
Explore it. It's a beauty. And when you see it in person and you see these guys throw a 56-pound weight for like 30, 40 feet, it's just, when you pick it up, you're humbled. It's like pick up a 50-pound dumbbell at the gym and think, man, how far can I throw this? Maybe 10 feet.
Yeah.
And, with the chain, you're throwing it. But those things all started correlated. And now, right now, it's just I had 2 surgeries last year. I had a meniscectomy. There's a slight tear. And then I had the rupture. So I became a little imbalanced. I lost a lot of strength throwing. So now, right now, I'm just doing bodybuilding 4 times a week. And I mean bodybuilding in the sense of I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm practicing the art.
Yeah.
And then on the weekends, I do strongman with the intent of competing again, but not yet.
Yeah, you're still like a recovery.
Got to get my shit together. Yeah.
So let me ask you this, and I think this is an important question to ask. We're now, this past year, right, we just celebrated the 10th year anniversary of the Battle Axe, right?
Yes, we did.
So here's a question that comes to mind for me. How have you seen it grown in these 10 years? Not just the gym, but the sport itself from when you first got into it to where we're at now. So how has the gym grown in the past 10 years, and how has it gone from year 1 to year 10? And how has the sport changed since you've been in it from year 1 to year 10?
Well, it's a great question. So year 1 strongman, this was 10 years ago, and I wouldn't consider myself an OG in the sport. I was trained by that. But 10 years in the sport really has opened my eyes to the sport has evolved both biomechanically and mentally into a higher sense of self and respect. It's no longer just a bunch of people lifting weights and trying to be savages. I remember it was just always heavy all the time without any kind of understanding of, recovery and like what we're doing to our bodies biomechanically in the sense of decay and form and technique and structure, linear progressions. So as far as the science space, we have adapted things from powerlifting, bodybuilding, and muscle recovery, and started implementing that in something dynamic.
Kind of like Bruce Lee.
Yeah,
take everything
and make it make sense, right? In that aspect, I think we have attracted a lot of athletes from other sports who have brought that as far as coaching is concerned. It has brought with itself a lot of bullshit. I think that the sport has also brought a lot of people who are dramatic and fucking making shit that shouldn't be as anything else. As everything gets popular, we will always want it to be a small blue collar sport, but you can't expect it to be like that forever because social media has made people like Brian Shaw and these guys, Hafthor Bjornsson, has brought a lot of spotlight to the sport, which is great because now people are getting the respect that they deserve. It also comes with the bullshit. But for the most part, it's good to see this being as like a freak show to being a respected sport of feats of strength, male and female. There's also been a spike in female competitors, which has given the opportunity for women to show their strength and see that these women are legendary in their ability to do things that are inhuman.
Right.
Into any capacity, man or woman.
Yeah, they're also strong.
Right. They don't have to be excluded from the community. Even though they weren't, we were very welcoming of women, but they was always shunned upon. You know, to see a girl lift a rock was like, ugh. And we were like, oh, that's badass. Keep doing it. And that has come with a more shows, more opportunity for people to come up. It's not weird to do. There's more gyms. There's more implements, more fabricators. I remember my first circus dumbbell was 2 propane tanks that were empty, welded together by a handle. That's what they used to be. You used to fill that with rocks. Now you can get a $100 beautiful giant dumbbell, or more if you want to.
Right.
And that has come with the evolution of the gym. You know, year one, it was my always concept was necessarily not building a brick and mortar in the sense of having a gym, but building a culture.
Right.
And the concept
that's important. Yeah.
That's very important. But to me, it was huge because I came from a fighting culture, so I wanted to express that in the strength community and building legacy. I think we all chase that as a leader. I always say this saying in my other philosophies is like, you will die twice, when you die physically and when they stop speaking your name.
Yeah.
I will fight really hard to die the second time.
Yeah.
And having my gym and having that legacy and having those people that have literally saved my life and have brought meaning to my life has been more understood in the last 5 years than in the previous 5. And I had a good conversation with a close friend.
That's part of the growth.
It is.
Yeah.
Right? It's watering the seeds.
That's the best part of the journey.
It's the fruit, right?
Yeah.
The bearing of the fruit is not what I feel, it's what I see.
Yeah.
And not so much in myself, but my lifters.
Yeah, absolutely.
And seeing them grow up from like punk kids to fucking lawyers, doctors, firefighters, police officers, like children. And I mean that 21, 20 confused assholes like we all were to fucking professional badasses.
Yeah.
And that's the most, and it's because of the gym and to get that compliment from that. And seeing that, like I had a conversation with a friend. It was very touching because he said something like, well, what we used to be in the first 5 years, you know, it's not that way anymore. And I said, you're right. Because the man it took to make the gym is not the man it's going to take to continue it.
Yeah.
You know, what it took, the aggression, because it's like an aggressive gym. It's a fucking invitation gym. It's an angry gym. It's pushing people. It's like, it's not for pussy shit. The DBAP, don't be a pussy, is one of our concepts. It's not for everyone. It's hard. That person that it took to ignite that culture now runs itself, right? Yeah. It's like when you start a fish tank. It's officially hard work at the beginning with the coral and the fish and the bullshit, and then it becomes its own ecosystem. And that's what the gym has become in the last 10 years, where most gyms fail within the first 5 years easily, especially in a saturated city like Miami.
Like everyone's holding the same standard.
Sure.
Within the gym.
Yeah, exactly.
So if someone new comes in, it's like you got to withhold.
Yeah, and they'll tell them, hey, don't do that. Don't put that there.
Yeah.
Hey, take it easy. And that wasn't like that the first. I had to do that. Yeah. Now I got guys that have been there for 7, 8 years. You know, lifter retention. People that don't leave that stuff is, you know, and in the process, you know, I fucked up and there's people have been kicked out and all that stuff. But I mean, that's part of the game. And it's cool to see that celebrate 10 years was probably one of the best days of my life. Probably one of the most emotional days of my life.
Yeah.
Because I had my parents there. Look, man, I grew up poor. I'm a son of an immigrant. We're Colombian. We had nothing. We grew up in the fucking shitty apartments by the airport when we were fucking kids. And back in the hammocks in the fucking early 90s when it was a shit show. And to have my parents there, for them to see that their son is not necessarily rich but wealthy, was probably the best day of my life.
And aside from that, just the community you built.
Thank you.
That's what's more important, right? Like okay, like they see that you could take care of yourself and you've built a foundation for yourself and to provide for you, but then they also see the beyond, the community that was built within that, and that's not easy.
It's the best.
Exactly.
It's the best.
And I think that's the highlight of it for me. Right? Like for someone outside appreciating it, seeing it, you know, talking to someone that's been around it, I think, you know, because 10 years, man, that's a long time. That's dedication.
Thank you. Yeah.
So for it to get to that point, even to the point where I think me and Paul were talking about You got. How does it feel to like he was saying? How does it feel to like see people like in other countries wear the Battle Axe shirt, like the merch?
It's probably
Because
one of
that's
the-
really where the
it's
culture
amazing.
is the
I see flags hanging in Norway, Australia, England, Germany. It's great. And I talk to my cousin about this all the time. Like, we grew up West Kendall poor kids.
yeah.
You know, like I didn't expect my name to be spoken out of a classroom when a teacher said my name.
Yeah.
You know, and then Michael de la Pava was like, that's it. And my mom's a incredible cake decorator. So in her own realm, she's also very well respected. So following him, and not that I love my father too, but just my mom has been a very big icon for me.
Yeah.
It's emotional. You know, I'm a passionate, emotional man. To see the Battle Axe Gym in Australia when we have a 950 square foot facility. I am not one of these fucking 5,000 mommy and
LA
daddies
Fitnesses,
loan
yeah.
money. Like I fucking had to literally get a credit card and it quit my job and sweat with ramen noodles for 4 fucking years. And that puts a certain tenacity in me that it will never go away. But to see Strong as Fuck, when I went to Norway, I just came back from Fed for Strength with Kiki out there, and I sponsored that. To see people hold my Strong as Fuck shirt and like cherish it, oh man, like it's people are 5,000 miles away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wanting that because of what it means, not because of what it says.
Yeah.
Is probably one of the greatest achievements I've ever done.
You brought up the whole thing about the gym, and we had Dr. Stefan up here, who at the time was working with the Detroit Pistons, right? Mm-hmm. And he wanted to come back to Miami and just have his own gym, his own. And he talked about like it was the worst timing to build a gym because when they did it, it was right during the pandemic. So he was like, man, it was the worst because like we were working. He's like, the gym was not much bigger than this room, right? He's like saying, so we couldn't have many people in there. We had to have one at a time. So we were working like 11, 12 hours in a day because you got to get one client per thing.
Yeah.
And then the athletes want to come in. They don't really want to train with anybody else because they have all this COVID stuff that they got to do, right? So if an NBA player comes in, we have to do him by himself. And
you have to clear the hour.
Yeah, exactly. You have to. So we're not making any money. We're not making enough to survive the gym, right? He's like, thank God the PPP came in. That helped us out for like another month, right? He's like, but that didn't really do much. And then now he's at a point where like, he's like, man, as soon as it was over, we were able to get people back inside. And now, boom, he's opening up a brand new, bigger gym, right? And that's the same thing. Like you opened it, like you said, credit cards. We sacrificed what we had to do for this gym because you believe in it.
Sure.
And ultimately, it built a community, a foundation. We're seeing it in other countries. So that, man, is fucking inspirational. And what I want to say to the people out there, because I always say this is a thing of inspiration, right? Someone's journey will inspire someone, right? It might not inspire everybody, or if you're in this type of field, or if you're in this type of profession, or if you want to build your own gym, whether it's powerlifting, strongman, whatever kind of gym it is, the journey still is going to be the same. You have to build a culture. You have to build a community, a strong foundation. And you heard it here. Like it's 10 years in the game, 5 years in, nowhere near to 5 years, the next 5 after that.
Yeah.
So first 5 years were a little bit of like, we're going to build, like that's how long it took to build that culture, 5 years, right? Like that's a long.
It's backbreaking. It's like anything else in life, a relationship or, whether it's romantic or friendship. The first years take a lot of standards.
Yeah.
You have to put your foot in the dirt. You have to draw lines in the sand that are cemented.
Yeah.
It's very hard it's easy to be in the gray area once you have established something. But the first 5 years take commitment. And they take a commitment that will take a toll. I always tell and I always give credit to my girlfriend. It's like, I didn't take her or anyone else to dinner for years. I drove a shitty car and I ate shitty food because it took so much work to put this up. Like, when you have a business, and I don't mean like online platforms have really opened up a different level. And I don't want to dog that. It's just I have an online business as well as a coach. But when you have a brick and mortar with an overhead, there is some sort of survivability and tenacity that digs into your bones that you have to do so much sacrificing that you're like, when will this end? And it doesn't that it doesn't end. It never ends, but it changes. Yeah. And the first 5 years, man, they took a fucking fuck ton of energy and commitment and discipline. And I was that guy that probably wasn't going out much. And I was working constantly and not sleeping. And I'd go out and be like, how much is a drink? I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just have one. And that sucks.
Yeah.
because I grew up poor. I know what that feels like to go like, oh, we're not going on vacation, or don't go over the house because you don't want to eat their food.
Yeah.
I hated that feeling, and now to be able to do whatever I want, respectfully, doing what I love to do is probably one of the greatest achievements that I've ever had and will ever have, whether this goes up or not.
With sacrifice always comes a payoff.
Absolutely.
Especially if you're dedicated to it.
Right. And I think this connects and goes full circle into when you ask me about fighting, it's like the same thing I felt when I opened the gym. Like, do I have what it takes? Like, I might not be getting punched in the face, but my soul was getting ripped apart. And I needed that. I needed to prove to myself that I could first. I know I'm very, very stoic in the sense of putting myself first in the challenges and proving myself to me first so that it emanates to others.
Okay.
And once that gym took flight, I'm like, okay, I can do this.